Bitcoin is at a very important point of support at this moment after hitting into a very big resistance, and it might be on its way to make new lows. In this video, I'm going to cover how I'm positioned, what I expect to happen next, and the next high probability setups. As always, let's start with what I had shown you in my last YouTube video. So around 3 weeks ago, I made this video warning you that I was looking for a short trade at around $66,000. I was actually calling a long trade at around $61,000, and I was telling you how I was expecting that move up to 66,000, and from there I would have taken a short trade. So this was happening right around here, and as you can see from there, we actually had a perfect move up into my target of 66,000 to 67,000. You can very clearly see here that these were my points of interest, and I actually took this short trade, which I also sent into my free community. So as you can see right here, I am still in this short trade with entry at 66,500, and I'm still holding. I've been holding this for 21 days actually. So that was really perfect. Let me show you once again. That was the line. That is exactly what happened. And then of course we had that move down. And guess what we had moved down into? The next point of interest, which I had given you in this video, which you can see right here. I had alighted around 59,000 to 54,000. And as you can see, we hit this 57,900 level, which was a monthly naked point of control, to the absolute perfection, which is where I also took a long trade, which I sent once again into my community. And now if we go and open my account, we can also see that I am indeed in this long trade on Bitcoin with entry at around $58,000. I've been holding for 6 days and we are now trading around $64,000. And as you can see right here, I am making almost $3,000, 500 of which I have already secured. So just by looking at this free video from 3 weeks ago, you could have had the perfect short trade. You could have been short from the top and you could have been long from the bottom. Of course, if you're inside the community, which I will leave a link in my description, you would have followed this in real time. So you would have had my alert that I had entered this exact trade. Now, let's see what we have coming up. So as just explained, I have been long since $57,900. Since then, it's been pretty easy to stay long. I have not taken many take profits except for here, I believe. And from there, it's been pretty easy because the targets were much higher. I did take a hedge short where I got stopped out, which was right here. Initially played out really well. I was not planning on taking any profit here. Then we bounced off of this anchor VWAP, and from there we moved up to higher targets at around 64,600. Now, we did have a short trade from this area, and I will explain why. Because when we look at the context, we have to consider that we have been putting lower highs, obviously lower lows. And once again, here we are technically looking, if we are looking for new lows, for that other lower high, right? Which would come right around here where we have this naked point of control and value area high. So this was definitely a very good place to take a short trade, which as of now, if you had taken, you would still be in profit. So let's imagine we had entered here, you would have this short trade targeting new lows. So once again, I have not taken this short trade, but this is definitely valid. And the reason why I did not take this is because, first of all, I already have my short trade from 66,000, which I showed you at the start of the video. And second, because to expect a bigger drop, what we really need to lose is this point of control, which as you can see just now, and this is exactly the point of support which I was talking about at the beginning of the video, we have not lost this level. We have actually just back tested it, which is the point of control of this big range, which you can see right here, which we've been in for 1 month. So until we lose this point of control, I would not be worried. And therefore, I have taken a little bit more risk and I have not taken the short trade. So I think if we can hold this point of control, which we have, as of now, we actually had a very bullish reaction, and we can start reclaiming above these naked point of controls and above the value area high that we have right here, then I do think, of course, we have to consider the possibility that we have this high, we have this weekly naked point of control. If we have a fake out or if we have an SFP, which is just a liquidity grab, by the way, then of course we have to keep this into consideration and we have to be open to taking that short trade, which is why we also only trade with reactions. However, I do expect if this level right here is flipped, for this to possibly move up all the way towards 74 to 76,000. Of course, once again, we have to consider the highs that we have right here. We have to consider range high right here onto the point of control, onto these naked point of controls as well. But once again, we trade these with reactions. So if we see this exact movement up here, then we will also take the short trade, which once again, perhaps it works out at first, but then we run into support. We flip this into support and we move up higher to my higher targets. If not, we're into the short trade. We let this run down for much lower. So these are potentially the points where we can short. So once again, above this high onto this weekly naked point of control, that is short number one, potential short number one, because once again, we only trade reactions. And potentially another short would be high of the range, point of control, naked point of control on the USDT pair, another naked point of control on the USDT pair, and another naked point of control. So this whole area right here is considered resistance. So let me clean this up for you guys and leave you with just the two potential trades that we might take, once again, only if we get a reaction, which is right here at around 65,700, and scenario number two, which is, let's say, around 67,000. Stop loss will depend on the price action where we put in the high. So that's what we have for short trades. For the long trade, well, of course, I am already in a long trade from much lower at around 58,000. But if I had to take another long trade, I would obviously never long right here, even if I'm expecting higher prices. Of course, today you had an intraday possibility to trade, for example, this SFP with a small invalidation. So that would look something like this. You would be in this trade. But personally, since I'm in from much lower with a pretty nice size, I'm not interested in taking these little trades. And therefore, if we are looking at a swing trade perspective, what I would be waiting for is honestly very, very simple. And it would be a move down all the way down to 59,900, which would take out the $60,000 psychological level. We would have the point of control of this range. We would have the value area low of the bigger range, which you can see right here in orange, point of control in red. We have the naked point of control on the weekly level. And then we have our lovely Fibonacci retracement, which if we put in the high right there, comes around exactly this little area that we've been highlighting. And therefore, this is definitely a good place to take that long trade. And once again, we only take this if we have a good reaction. So that could be, for example, that we slightly front run this level. We start ranging. You do a liquidity grab of the low, trade back above. That's your trigger. You then have the long trade with entry right here and stop loss either below the low, or I typically like to give myself some space. And then we can try and target higher prices, such as, for example, 65,000, 67,000, and potentially even 76,000. So I hope this is very clear. Of course, if we start flipping this area into resistance and this just blasts through, for example, we backtest it, then I would say that the highest probability is to go back down to 57. But at this point, I don't see this honestly reversing here. I would really expect a much bigger move down to 54,000. And I do also want to cover a scenario, which I'm going to do on the USD pair, because as of now, I'm trading the USDT pair right here, where we have on the table the target of possibly going back down to 32,000, which I've explained many times. And I will repeat it once again. You can already see it on my chart. But basically, to make it very, very simple for you guys, if we start, which we actually have already done, and which is why also this is a good place to short around 64,000. And it's because we have re-entered this old fixed range value right here, which had the value area around 64,000. So as you can see, at first, we simply just wicked into it and traded above. Now it seems like we are flipping it into resistance. And don't forget that once you get acceptance into value area high, your target becomes value area low, which in this case comes in at around $35,000. So of course, we don't look at these levels yet, but we do have to keep them into consideration because of course we still have the previous range point of control right here at around 57,000. But if we start losing it, then I really do think it's possible to move down to 35,000. Of course, we have, for example, the Fibonacci retracement in the middle around 46,000, etc., etc. So there will be other levels, but the final target does become 35,000. So I just want to lay this out, and I just want to warn you that it is a possibility. However, it is not the highest probability at the moment, but you do have to keep it in mind. So for the rest, I really do hope everything is clear, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to join our free community with the link that you will find in the description.